Hello all, welcome to the Exposing Grief YouTube channel. Today I'm creating this video for a little bit of a different purpose than what I normally create videos for this educational channel for. Of course, it's for education skills, tools to help you navigate your grief journey. But today I want to bring this video to recognize and honor and create space for those who are grieving the shooting that happened at Robb Elementary School in Texas on Tuesday, May 24th, 2022. This is my way of helping in whatever way I can. My heart goes out to all of the parents and families and teachers and children and everybody else who is grieving through the horrific events that happened. And the best way I know how to help is provide grieving guidance. So today I wanted to create a video and bring this video to you of how do we talk to our children about grief. While this happened in elementary school, I understand these have happened in other schools as well, but children are grieving as our parents and families, and talking about grief with children can be really hard. So I wanted to bring you some tools and some tips on how to best talk to children about grief and some of these events. Please note that some of the tips that I will provide are also helpful for just talking about the tragic event as a whole. And then some of them are going to be geared more towards specific grief material. So let's jump in. So the first and possibly the most important and most powerful thing we can do when it comes to talking about grief, a tragic event, whether we're talking to a child or an adult, is creating a safe space. So what do I mean by safe space? A safe space is a space that's going to allow the individual to express everything that they're experiencing freely. It's a non-judgmental space. It's a space where they're going to obtain validation. Hopefully their experiences would be normalized. And it's a space where they don't have to worry about how the other individual is being impacted or going to respond, right? So it's a neutral space that they can process and start talking about what they experienced. So this is healthy for anybody, but particularly children, because oftentimes they may not know that this is even something that they need to process, or they may be feeling certain things but not know it's something to talk about. So if we can go to them and say, hey, I'm here, let's talk about this, you're opening the door, you're opening that invitation. So how do we create this safe space? The first thing is just tell them it's okay. Normalize their experience, right? And then ask them questions. How are you doing? Do you want to talk about what happened today? Do you have questions about what happened, right? Whatever it might be, being able to ask them questions, then normalize their experience, normalize their responses, and tell them it's okay to feel this way. I know it's scary. Another good tool is to share your experience, right? Especially for younger children, when parents, caregivers, teachers, whomever it may be they're talking to, can model that for them, it helps normalize, oh, okay, this is okay to feel this way. This is okay to talk about, right? So being able to say, Mom and Dad are really scared too, or this is a tough situation for Mom and Dad as well, or Mom and Dad are sad too, or as a teacher it's heartbreaking, right? Being able to kind of align with the student, the child, and help normalize that process. So creating a safe space through asking questions and being curious, normalizing their experience and telling them it's okay, and then sharing your experience as feels appropriate to help align with the child and model healthy grieving behavior. Once we've created that safe space, the next thing we want to do when talking to children about grief is help them find the words. So adults sometimes struggle with this too, but particularly children have a really hard time putting words to their current experience and then what has happened to get them to that current spot. So we want to act as a guide to help children start finding words to what they're experiencing. So how do we do that? We're going to actually pull from that creating a safe space with those questions, right? So when we ask a question, it not only opens the door to start having the conversation, but it also creates the platform to help them start finding words. So we ask the question, we validate and normalize, then we become curious, right? So if we ask our child or our student, how are you doing? And they respond, I'm sad, I'm just sad, right? So pretty vague, understandable. So validate and normalize, and then be curious of saying, oh, can can you tell me what that sadness feels like? Like, where do you feel that? And if they say, my eyes, right? So then we clarify, oh, so does their sadness mean that you kind of want to cry, right? So being curious about what they're experiencing by asking more questions, and then clarifying what you're hearing, right, to help them gain a better understanding, and you as well. So when you ask where they feel in their body, that is helping them recognize how it's showing up, right? We know the emotions, but sometimes we don't know how it shows up in our body. So that can be really helpful. Another curious question to ask is, what in particular about today is making you sad? Or if there isn't a particular event that you know of, ask them, do you know what's making you sad? Right? And again, using those same tools. So you've been curious. Once you get a response, clarify, right? And validate and normalize. So we create that safe space. We begin to help them find the words by continuing to ask questions, validating and normalizing, become curious, and then clarify what you're hearing. If you remember at the beginning of the video, I had mentioned that some of these tips that we're talking about are going to be useful in broad spectrum, right? So whether we're talking to children about grief, trauma, mental health in general, a difficult situation with friends, family, whatever it might be. So those first two tips we talked about, creating a safe space and helping them find the words, are great tips for overall discussion around things that are bothersome to them, whether it's very, very heavy or a little bit more of a minor situation. This next tip we're going to talk about is very grief specific. So once we have that safe space created and we've begun to help the children find the words, we want to start exploring some grieving rituals, right? So one of the questions might be in that second stage we talked about, the second tip we talked about, one of the curious questions might be, what do you want to do with this sadness? Is there anything that you want to do to honor some of those people? Right? This is where rituals come into play. So rituals are a beautiful thing in a grieving process to help us remember our loved ones and honor them and help us feel connected. So, and these can take whatever form you want them to be. And that's kind of the beauty about rituals. Let's brainstorm, right? Have it be a really collaborative thing. So parents with children being able to ask, what do you want to do with this sadness? Do you want to let balloons go? Or do you want to light some candles? Or do you want to write a funny story about what you remember of them? Teachers, this might be a great thing to incorporate in your classroom as a whole as well. I'm not sure what the rules are around that within the school, but if that's something you can explore, that might be a really fun thing for the students and a really good thing for the students to help them process their grief, whether it's allowing them to begin exploring their grief or allowing them to start learning how to grow around it and start healing from the events that had happened. So explore those grief rituals with your children and see what you might come up with and see what they want to do, and then help them execute that grief ritual. So the last tool I want to quickly talk about with you all is simply just check in and follow up. We've already done this great work with our children and our students, so let's follow up on it. You have this safe space created so your child or student knows they're a safe person. I can go to them if and whenever I need. So let's follow up, check in. The frequency of when we check in will change based on how much work we're doing, the healing that we're doing, right? Especially soon after an event like this or a grieving situation, we might check in a little bit more regularly. It might be a weekly thing. Hey, how are you doing this week? What did you find particularly hard? Or it might be a day-to-day thing, right? So really just kind of gauging what feels okay for you and your child or your student and honoring that. I do have some other book recommendations that help children or parents, students, teachers talking to children about grieving. So I will list those in the description box as well. So you have the titles to those and access to those. Please subscribe to this Exposing Grief YouTube channel for more content and skills and tools around navigating grief if you need them. Sad is not even the word to begin to describe how I feel about the reason and why I'm bringing this video to you, but I am grateful that I have the platform to do so and being able to help in any way I can, like I had said at the beginning. So I truly hope that you and your children or your students find this useful and it helps you to begin not only your grief experience, but guiding your children through that grief process and normalizing that for them, because it's a very, very scary thing for anybody. I hope that you all are gracious with yourself. Be patient. This is a really hard time. We don't have a handbook on how to navigate this, so please be gracious. Take care of yourselves. Be gentle with yourselves, and please reach out to me if you have any other questions. My email is in the box below. So please take care and be gentle with yourselves.